Worden was an American astronaut and engineer who was the command module pilot for the Apollo 15 lunar mission in 1971. He is one of the only 24 people to have flown to the moon. The former Apollo 15 members said that not only were aliens real, but they had come to Earth in the distant past and created our civilization, and if we wanted to look for evidence, all we had to do was to look at ancient Sumerian literature. In 2017, on a British TV show, Good Morning Britain, he gave a shocking response when a host asked why to spend a lot of money on space missions when there are lots of problems on Earth. He was asked if he believed aliens were real. The answer probably surprised everyone watching the interview. We are the aliens, but we just think they are somebody else. But we are the ones who came from somewhere else because somebody else had to survive, and they got into little spacecraft, then they came here and landed, and then they started civilization here. And if you don't believe me, go get books on ancient Sumerians and see what they had to say. They will tell you right up front, Worden added. More interestingly, according to Dr. Joseph P. Farrell, an intergalactic space battle took place in the solar system millions of years ago, involving super-evolved aliens. Cosmic War, Interplanetary Warfare, Modern Physics, and Ancient Texts author Dr. Joseph P. Farrell says there is ample evidence of cataclysmic and catastrophic destruction in the solar system. He suggests that there were two space wars, one 65 million years ago and the other 3.2 million years ago. Joseph Farrell is an Oxford-educated historian specializing in alternative history, World War II and secret technology. After a lifelong interest in alternative history, science and ancient texts, Joseph began to write on these topics, rejecting the naturalistic and materialistic assumptions about catastrophism. But forward by other researchers, Dr. Farrell says, it's time to take the ancient myths of space warfare in the heavens seriously. Using extraterrestrial artifacts, advanced ideas of modern physics, and text of ancient myths in his arguments, he argues that an ancient interplanetary war was fought in our own solar system using weapons of extraordinary power and complexity. Many scholars and authors of ancient history have mentioned the so-called technology of the gods, which includes not only the mystical flying machine, Vimanas, but also the powerful weapons of the gods, such as the Vajras, an artifact of the Anunnaki, gods that shoots lightning. In the book, Dr. Farrell mentions the ancient Sumerian god Ninurta wielding lightning, which is a replica of an electrical discharge produced in a modern laboratory that experiments with plasma physics. Dr. Farrell argued that the echoes of this space war are reflected in the ancient texts of the Sumerians, Babylonians, Egyptians, biblical texts, the Vedic tradition, as well as in the mythology of the New World, from the Maya and Aztecs to the myths of some indigenous North American tribes. But think about it, the oldest texts from the ancient Near East are perhaps 4,000 to 5,000 years old. Vedic texts can be 5,000 or 6,000 years old. In addition, purely oral traditions can push information back several thousand years. It's a long time, but it's nothing compared to 3.2 million years. It is incredibly ridiculous to consider that connection between an ancient manuscript of 6,000 years ago and events that took place 65 million years ago. It sounds unacceptable that all civilizations, high and low, such as the Egyptians, Mongols, various Chinese dynasties and the Roman Empire, the Incas and the Aztecs, have come and gone in just the last few thousand years. It is true that the traces of tradition and mythology have survived for thousands of years. British psychologist and author Stan Gooch, who is probably best known as the proponent of the hybrid origin theory of human evolution, makes a more convincing case that much of our fundamental culture today is based on and actually descended from the extinct race of Neanderthals, the last of which became extinct about 20,000 to 30,000 years ago. Gooch said that modern man does not know and or has forgotten the origin of his primary fundamental culture attributes, and much more. But that doesn't help Dr. Farrell. As for him, even 20,000 to 30,000 years is nothing. Neanderthals had about 250,000 successful species, but for Dr. Farrell, that's nothing. According to leading scientists, the origin of Homo sapiens is about 200,000 years old. However, Dr. Farrell states that the legends have been passed down by the civilization or another for 3.2 million years. Although there are proponents of alternative archaeology such as Michael Cremo and Richard Thompson, who say that the human species is actually billions of years old. Unfortunately, such statements are certainly on edge, to say the least. But Dr. Farrell's space war scenario takes a huge advantage in the work of physicist Dr. John Bradenberg. He's a brilliant and accomplished plasma physicist who earned his PhD from U.S. Davis in 1981. Dr. John Bradenberg has published two controversial books, Death on Mars and Life and Death on Mars, in which he provides highly scientific and highly technical justification for the fact that Mars was destroyed by nuclear weapons millions of years ago as part of some interstellar cosmic conflict. Bradenberg said that the Mars was destroyed when some advanced extraterrestrial race dropped 2 million megaton bombs that exploded at strategic locations about 20 miles above the surface of Mars. If he's right, that would benefit Dr. Farrell's theory of ancient space warfare, but there's a serious problem. According to Dr. Bradenberg, Mars was hit by a nuclear attack 251 million years ago. This is not consistent with Dr. Farrell's time frame of 3.2 million and 65 million years ago. However, Dr. Farrell can find something in his book. According to the late Dr. Tom Van Flandern, an American astronomer specializing in celestial mechanics for the US Naval Observatory, the planet between the orbits of Mars and Jupiter exploded about 65 million years ago, or another 3.2 million years ago. He finds some way to formulate his space war scenario in terms of a time scenario of, say, 10,000 to 15,000 years. I believe Van Flandern's exploding planet hypothesis makes sense only if one is willing to accept an unnatural explanation. Of course, this is heretical on several levels, since the explanation must somehow include the presence of potential artifacts on Mars, as well as a supposed high-tech culture on Mars' former parent. Oddly enough, the climax of Endo Binder, Cosmic Pyramid Mystery, comes to mind. In Binder's novel, the asteroid belt was formed by a targeted gravitational attack that used the energy of the entire solar system. The pyramids were in fact gravitational generators used to manipulate space-time, wrote Dr. Farrell. This is the least that can be said about Dr. Farrell's space war, but in doing so, he offers the solution to a mystery that has long puzzled researchers, revealing the cause of his ancient war, the means by which it was waged, and the true nature of the secret technology behind the ancient tablets of destiny.
With so many conspiracy theories out there, it's hard to keep track of them all. Welcome to What We Know, where we try to uncover the histories and mysteries of the world by presenting all different theories out there, and the only narrative we push is this. Here's what we know, make up your own mind. Many years ago, I was introduced to the amazing videos of Ed Grimsley, who at the time was discussing the idea that UFOs were engaging in some level of extra-atmospheric combat. At the time, I dismissed the idea, thinking if an alien ship had come all this way, that alien ship would possess enough destructive power to render our defensive apparatus null and void and simply blow anything we could throw at it out of the sky. Now, many years later, and especially given recent research into the secret space program, as well as the actual composition of battle platforms in space, that maybe Grimsley was onto something. He was onto something, but I suspect it wasn't aliens duking it out with Earthmen, but instead, a space war between a breakaway civilization and its earthly brethren.